Hello! In this video, I will brainstorm changes to Street Fighter 6 that I think would enhance my personal enjoyment of the game. This includes changes to Perfect Parry, Raw Drive Rush cancels from crouching, medium kick, throw loops, everyone's favorite, drive impact, fireball drive rush, corner carry, and level 3. The reason I'm making this video now is because the new season is upon us and changes are inevitable. The changes that I'm about to list will not make it into the game. They're heavy-handed, and with the amount of success Street Fighter 6 has, I don't think Capcom will actually change much. This is also not meant to be a message to Capcom. They won't see this video, and if for some reason they do, they won't pay attention to what some random lad on the interwebs is saying. As I mentioned, they're killing it with their game. Why would they think someone else who doesn't even design games for a living would know how to effectively change their golden goose? So why am I making this video? I don't know, it's fun. You can flame me for stupid changes in the comments if you like, I don't mind. Perfect Parry! God, don't you love it when you're doing your block string or poking your opponent or just hitting a meaty and BAM! You're now in the corner getting throw looped. Yeah, love it. I'd make it so that instead of letting you do whatever you want when you perfect parry, you now get an automatic follow-up that pushes your opponent back a lot. Kind of like how throw tech is now. It returns you to neutral, so that way you have a defensive mechanic that lets you escape an offensive threat instead of doing a 180 turntable and making you the oppressor now. It's probably just me, but I don't like that in fighting games. Now, before you tell me that it becomes too weak for the risk it poses, I'd also change it so that you no longer take extra damage from throw punish when parrying. You can also reduce the recovery if that's deemed necessary. We can do follow-up changes later on when we see how these work, right? Why not? We can even make throws do less damage against someone who is parrying if balance becomes that out of whack. Raw Drive Rush the Uncheckable. That moment when you sit there and you wait for DJ to go green, and then he does, and you get counter hit on your check. Truly a marvel of modern game design. So why don't we put a massive hurt box in front of Drive Rush to make it more checkable? I read that in the YouTube comments of some video, so maybe it's not a good idea, but then again, what I'm doing is basically one step above a YouTube comment, so... Anyway, if that's not enough, we can also make hitting someone who's drive rushing a punish counter to further adjust the risk reward, but I suspect the hurt box would be enough. But what about crouching medium kick into drive rush? This one is kind of simple, but it might work. Make that cost 4 drive bars. It's still just as good, but more expensive, which makes it less good. Balancing, right? That way it's more dangerous if you didn't get a hit, because then you might be sitting there with just 2 bars of drive meter and you get poked a bit, and now you're in burnout. It's not immediate burnout, but it does skew the risk reward without taking away from the power of the mechanic. Throw loops of hell. That abomination. Remove them. Straight up, out of the game. Now that Perfect Parry isn't so strong with the suggested changes, we don't really need throw loops, do we? If you want a more softball change, make it so that everyone has to use drive rush to throw loop, and make throws off of drive rush not recover any drive bar. Frankly, I'm not sure if they do now, but just to be safe, I'll mention it. But again, ideally, just toss them into the garbage. Drive impact, man, how much I hated that mechanic in the betas. I still strongly dislike it, but that's not because of balance reasons. I would say drive impact doesn't need any changes, but you know, this is my video and any changes suggested here have an increased 20% chance of not making it into the game next season because quantum physics or something. I don't know, it's just a feeling. So I'll get this mechanic anyway. On hit, DI remains the same, which means it does some damage and a knockdown. On counter hit and punish counter, it does the same thing but with extra damage. No combo, only Oki. That way it's still good, and you're also risking the same thing if your opponent counter DIs, so it's probably balanced, just don't whiff it. In the corner, you do not get a combo on hit or on block, but on hit and also on block, assuming that the hit is normal, not counter or punish counter, your opponent bounces off the wall and you get a lot of plus frames that you cannot combo off of. counter and punish counter is the same as mid-screen, where you get extra damage and OK. In Burnout, you get the WoW splat you currently get instead of a full-on stun combo. And lastly, because I really hate it, remove the proximity guard of it. Fireball Drive Rush, another SF6 classic. Now, I'm trying to not make changes that would require Mai to change her core gameplay, because if Capcom planned to make such changes, they would not have designed Mai the way they did. And no, I don't consider removing troll loops to be a change that fundamentally changes Mai's gameplay, at least not any more than it would change other characters' gameplay, because she currently has strong corner Oki. And if there's no troll loops, she'll still have strong corner game with EX Fan. So she'll still play the same way, she'll just play in a different game. That said, using Drive Rush with a fireball on the screen could change her gameplay quite a bit. Because I think if people start backdashing your fans going down, the only good way to stop them from doing that includes Drive Rush. So here's my suggested change. Using raw Drive Rush while you have a projectile on screen now costs 2 drive bars. Seriously, why aren't Capcom using the drive cost of moves to balance? Isn't that one of the main selling points of spending resources to do stuff? You can change it around? Anyway, my specific point that doesn't change her game plan too much is that when the projectiles bounce up, they no longer count for the increased drive rush cost, only when they fly horizontally. I think that's an alright change. Corner carry, another thing I hear named as one of the game's pain points. I would say if all other changes I've suggested so far were implemented, corner carry is probably okay as it is, since the corner is much weaker without throw loops and the massive DI threat. That said, the corner is still the corner. So if we want to do something about the corner carry, then perhaps lowering the damage a bit on the corner carry moves would do it. If not, the actual corner carry of corner carry moves can also be reduced. But again, to start, I will not make any changes to it. Lastly, level 3. Man, let me tell you, I absolutely loathe invincible moves that take like 40% of your health bar, and level 3 is especially egregious because it also drains 1.5 bars of drive gauge. Ideally, I'd just remove level 3 from the game. That way I don't have to watch that long animation every game. I do recognize, however, that as unlikely as the other changes I have suggested are, this one is impossible. So let me suggest something that I can still stalk with hopium. Reduce the max scaling of level 3 to 40%, where currently it's 50%. And also make all supers level 1, 2 and 3 drain 1 bar of drive meter. That way you have more reasons to use level 1, which would limit the use of level 3. And when you do use level 3, it won't swing so hard. So that's probably enough. Anyway, if I were to make an actual guess as to what I suspect Capcom will change, I'd say not much really. I think they would try to make OD moves be stronger and try to dissuade people from spamming Drive Rush so much so they can instead use their cool EX moves. Maybe give you a bit less advantage on perfect parry and continue to pretend like everyone doesn't hate troll loops. I don't know, that's my guess. Here's a reminder that Capcom doesn't care a single bit about what I say, and everything I suggested in this video is... why do I even bother? Nobody's watching this long anyway. Right? Cheers!